All right, folks, we're messing around again. It's rear brake time. I gotta knock this out right quick. We got your rear brake rotor. You got pads. Safety first. Car's jacked up. Don't ever neglect safety, regardless of how easy the job may be. Putting this stand on this particular point of the car to jack up the rear wheel, and I am making sure that the stand is on the rear toe. All right, so this is stable. This is cool. That's cool over there. I'm gonna take the wheel off and shove it under the car just for a third measure. Let's get in here. So this is what we got. Just by pulling the tire off and observing, this thing is making a lot of noise, and it sounds like metal on metal. But I have pad here, and there are no grooves. This surface is very flat. Nonetheless, all of it's coming out because it's just old. This should be a little easier than the front. People say it's different. I don't see how it's different. I don't see why it's different. Well, no, I just don't. It's still pulling off 4 bolts. You taking all this off, you're taking this off, and you're knocking it down. Let's just go into it. So these first 2 back bolts, one here, let's pinpoint it. One here, and the other one is here. Both of these are 14 millimeter. This one and this one that the ratcheting wrench is on. They are burnt on, they're fried on. I have leverage. So again, to get this off, all I'm gonna do is hammer away until it loosens up. And I'm gonna bring it back on once I've done that. So that one's off. That's the top bolt. Put them in a nice spot so you don't get them messed up. Set them in a row. Let's get these out first, so the whole caliper doesn't come off. I can bang it off. Yeah, let me do that. Sorry. Let's get these outer ones first. This feels like a 10. This feels very small. Nope, it's a 12. And again, I'm putting it on here like that. I'm stabilizing with my hand, and then the other hand, I'm bringing it in, and I'm knocking it down. All right. And it really makes quick work of a lot of seized bolts on your car. This particular bolt is not too important. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's holding your caliper, but it's not like knocking down a bolt on your engine, at which you would probably get some type of lube. And this one was a little funny because you got all this stuff in the way, but it was literally right here, and I just mashed it, and it goes. Simple as that. And this is gonna open up the top of the caliper, so you can remove your brake pads and sit all this stuff aside. Again, be mindful of these hoses back here. Now, this is your power steering hose. Make sure it's not hanging on anything, and make sure when you put it back on, it's not obstructing anything, it's not being bent, it's not being stretched, and all that good stuff. Oh, this one here and one here, right there. Now I'm going to take the caliper off. Let me put it off in my hand. This thing hadn't been off in years, and it was seized, and I banged it off. But that's what your caliper looks like. When you step on your brake, the hose squeezes the fluid through. This pushes in, grabs the brake pads, to the on one, and it squeezes your rotor. Changing all that right now. This isn't I don't know why these things were squealing. Maybe it was well, let's check the warning on the other one. This is the inside. I'm sorry, this is the outside. Yeah, that's all. It had gotten down to the warning, so it was time. It's time to change them. As you see, the crud that is in between the two as a result of grinding. I don't think I can focus on that, but it's definitely not as clean as it is up here. Yep, time to change them. And this is my diagram, so I know how it's going back when I put it back on the car. And it's not rocket science at all. It's putting a square in a square hole and a circle in a circle hole. All right, and this one doesn't fit. Look what we have here. So this is your bottom bolt. This is going to your top caliper. Top of your caliper, your 12 millimeter. This is your 14. And I'm going to put it back in this order. Now I got to get the second one off. And we're going to do that now. So I've got the second one out. And at this point, we should be able to pull, like we're going to hang this right here. It's perfect. It's not being pulled by anything. It's off to the side. And we should be able to just, yep, bloop. And I do not like, I mean, in extreme case scenarios, these particular 10 pieces, this is rocket science for me. When they go on the rotor, sometimes they don't fit for what apparent reason, I don't know. So I just leave the old ones in. It's a piece of tin. They doesn't have a lot of rust on it, and all it's doing is retaining your brake pads. You can technically not put these back on with the brake pads, but they'll start clunking. They'll start moving around on you. They'll still be in front of your caliper, and they will still be able to stop your car. But it's always backwoods. You can maybe keep these off, but it's safer to have these on just to keep your brake pads in place, center position on top of everything else that's on top of it. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. So I'm just going to keep these in actually, and put the new brake pads in on top of this. And we got all that off. We should be, yep. This just comes off. Just like that. And this is trash, or you can take it to your scrap metal yard. Get a couple dollars for it. And we're gonna put this one on. This is the result of the painted rotor. I don't recommend it at all. Especially paint here. This is going to go as soon as I brake. There's no way that's staying on. It's still gonna rust. Let me show you the front one that came factory painted. See, it's still rust here. I want them to look flawless for what apparent reason, I don't know. Again, it's just a detail. A detail that I'm very particular about, but it's not the end of the world. So I mean, I'm not going to get caught up with that again. Just throw them on there and let them function like they're supposed to. So this was the last piece. Now I'm reversing the process. This, probably these two, and then these two, and that should be it for the back right, back left. I take it back. The hardest part of this is probably same as the front, is getting the piston back in. My tool was so brittle and old, it broke. I think I got enough, but let's see if I do. Nope, definitely not enough room. So if I here's off to the store to get probably a more proper tool. As I said before, this is just too old school, I guess, for obvious reasons. So we're going from old school C-clamp to Harbor Freight's finest. This is essentially this. I haven't formally used this, but it's not rocket science, and we're gonna figure it out today. Oh, and I forgot to tell y'all, make sure your parking brake is down. Your parking brake is directly connected to your rear rotors, and it's pressing all that in. It is imperative that you're on a flat surface, because this is not up helping with anything. You don't want that brake engaged especially when it's an electronic. In this case, it's a manual. Just keep it down when you're doing your rear brakes. So this is the interior, the contents of what we have in this Harbor Freight brake caliper tool. Again, we're just matching shapes. I'm assuming it's a, I don't know, I'm gonna test fit the 5 and the 6. Put this big old clamp, turn it in, so I can flush it in with that particular cylinder and work this in some way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, they come with directions. Let me just read the directions. And this is how this works. This flushes in on this back side or the front side of the caliper. I'm twisting this down to flush everything in. Let me get it. It's way more efficient. And I'm turning, I have to stabilize it, but I turn this and it presses all that in. It's way more stable than the C-clamp. It works just like the C-clamp, but it's way more stable. And now that the caliper was in, I'm able to fit this back over the brake pads and rotor. Now I'm going to put the screws in and tighten everything back down. Alright, so what I did to this bolt is I put it back on and then hammered it in a little more. Then I came down to the bottom and did the same thing on the bottom one to hammer it in, because it took some hammering to get it out. And this particular bracket is on. Now we have to fasten this back, the top part of the caliper back onto the bracket. But the piston is in, the brake pads are in, and they're grabbing. And we'll bolt this bolt here and this bolt back here. We'll flush that in. Alright, so we lined up this bolt and we lined up this one. And now I'm going to ratchet it down. That's the wrong one. Ratchet it down. Whew. Just like the front one, you got a bolt, you got a bigger nut. You got to stabilize before you put the bolt in. So you hold on to this with the 17mm and torquing it in with the 12mm. That's always something, I tell you. Alright, so we all back together one more time. This is the brake line. I let a little fluid out. Just to, it looked like it wanted to add a nice bubble right here. That's good. Instead of going back into the master cylinder. Everything's flush, everything's on. Hammered these back in. And now the tire's going back on. And we're good. Oh, and same thing with the front brake. Once you get back in, you gotta mush that down a little bit just to get that cylinder flush on the caliper. Alright, so you're not completely done until you do that. Take it for a drive a little bit. And everything's cool. You can like, you can subscribe. Any questions, concerns, leave it in the questions section. This is Do It Yourself D. I'm out.